Hello, my name is Claudia Mair, and today I'm going to be sharing with you the African American oral tradition, or speaking our stories. If you see me look down for a moment, it's just because I'm checking my notes. I don't want you to miss anything that I have to share. Let's get started. A long time ago in Africa, there were some men and women called griots. They told all of the stories from their culture. The griots knew their history, the people, the songs. They knew everything, and they memorized it all. Can you imagine that? Sometimes they spoke the stories with lots of feeling. Other times they sang them with music and drumming. And sometimes they told folk tales to share life lessons. The griots didn't write the stories down, but they passed them down until another griot took over. They did this for generations. In one of the worst times in history, enslavers came and they stole many thousands of African people so they could force them to work. They traveled in ships under terrible conditions. Many captive Africans got very sick. Many of them even died. The enslavers brought the stolen Africans to different places, like right here in America. They separated the Africans, who were also known as slaves, so that the people who spoke the same language could not plan to escape to freedom. They couldn't practice their own religion, but one thing the slave owners could not do was steal their stories, because all the slaves knew them. They had been passed down for generations. After a while, the slaves began to add to their stories things that happened to them in America. Some stories brought them hope. One story is about flying Africans who could fly back to Africa on their own wings. If the slaves could see African Americans now, they would be amazed. We can read, write, and tell stories without brutal punishment. Do you have a favorite book written by an African American author? The slaves would marvel at this. We can write our own books. But the oral tradition does continue to this day. Sometimes the storytellers are in our own families. Your grandma or grandpa could tell you stories about your relatives that lived a long time ago. Your parents could tell funny stories that many years later you will tell. You can tell stories that you made up or real stories to your family and friends. All of these stories could be memorized, and when you tell them, the African American tradition continues. Other cultures tell stories too. Native American people have their own stories. In fact, people all over the world tell stories. I hope you enjoyed learning about the African American oral tradition. And don't forget to keep memorizing and telling stories. Your stories are important, and they may end up being told for many generations. Thank you.